The stars burned cold and silent above the debris field. Broken metal floated in the darkness like the bones of dead giants. This place had once been a human colony called New. Now it was nothing but ash and memory. The human cruiser Pale Dawn moved slowly through the wreckage. Its crew watched their screens with tired eyes. They had seen too much death in this war. They had taken everything from them. 17 worlds burned. Millions of lives ended. And still the war continued. Captain stood on the bridge with his hands behind his back. He was a tall man with gray in his hair and deep lines on his face. The war had aged him. It had aged everyone. He stared at the floating debris and thought about the families who had lived here, children who had played in parks, old people who had tended gardens, all gone now, burned by dragon fire. They were not really dragons, but that is what humans called them. They were massive creatures, each one the size of a small ship. Their bodies were covered in scales that glowed like hot metal. They had long necks and tails and wings that spread wide enough to block out the sun. And they breathed fire, real fire, hot enough to melt steel. They had come from the dark spaces between galaxies. No one knew why they attacked. They never explained. They never negotiated. They simply arrived and burned everything in their path. "Captain," said the sensor officer, a young man named, "I am picking up a life sign." Turned human survivors. "No, sir," looked uncomfortable. "It is coming from a warship. The vessel is badly damaged, but something is still alive inside." The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. A wounded enemy. A creature that had probably helped destroy this colony. A monster that deserved to die alone in the cold darkness of space. Weapons officer spoke first. Her voice was hard like stone. "We should finish it off. One less dragon to fight." Said nothing, he was thinking. In the medical bay, Senior Healer was organizing supplies when the call came. She was a small woman with kind eyes and gentle hands. She had joined the military to save lives, not to take them. The war had tested her beliefs many times, but she had never broken. She still believed that every life had value, even enemy lives. When she reached the bridge, Captain explained the situation. "The creature is dying," he said. "Massive internal damage. It will be dead within the hour if we do nothing." "Then let it die," said again. "Captain, think about what they did here, to our people, to the children." Looked at the image on the screen. The warship was torn apart. Fire had burned through its hull. Whatever battle had happened here, the dragon had lost. She could see the life sign blinking weakly. Fading. "I will go," she said. Everyone stared at her. Healer said carefully, "That creature has probably killed humans. Many humans. It shows no mercy to our kind." "I know," replied, "but I am a healer. That is what I do. I heal. I do not choose who deserves to live and who deserves to die. That is not my job." Stepped forward, her eyes were angry. "You would save a monster after everything they have done." Met her gaze without fear. "If we become like them, then they have already won. We are human. We are better than this. We have to be better than this. Otherwise, what are we fighting for?" The bridge was silent for a long moment. Then Captain nodded slowly. "Take a shuttle," he said. "But you go alone. I will not risk more lives for this mission." Bowed her head. "Thank you, Captain." She gathered her medical supplies and walked to the shuttle bay. Her heart was beating fast, but her hands were steady. She had treated wounded soldiers before. She had worked in burning hospitals and collapsing buildings. She had seen terrible things and kept working. This would be no different. The shuttle crossed the distance between ships in minutes, docked with the broken warship and made her way inside. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of burned metal. Emergency lights flickered red in the darkness. She followed her scanner toward the life sign. She found the dragon in what looked like a command room. It was lying in a pool of its own blood. The blood glowed faintly like liquid starlight. The creature was smaller than she expected. Young, maybe. Its scales were cracked and dull. Its breathing was shallow and weak. When it saw her, its eyes opened wide. They were golden like twin suns, and they were filled with hate. The dragon opened its mouth and released a blast of fire, threw herself behind a metal pillar just in time. The heat washed over her, burning the edges of her coat. She pressed herself against the cold metal and waited. "I am not here to hurt you," she called out. Her voice echoed in the ruined room. The dragon's translator device crackled to life. Its voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "Then you are a fool," it said. I have killed your kind, dozens of them. I enjoyed watching them burn." Closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She thought about the colony outside, the dead families, the burned children. She thought about how easy it would be to just leave, to let this creature die alone in the dark. But that was not who she was. She stepped out from behind the pillar. Her hands were raised and empty. She walked slowly toward the wounded dragon. "My name is," she said. "I am a healer. I do not care what you have done. Right now you are dying and I can help you. That is all that matters to me." Stared at her. His golden eyes were confused. He did not understand this small creature. She should be afraid. She should be running. She should be trying to kill him. Instead, she was kneeling beside him and opening a medical kit. "Why?" he asked. The word came out like a growl. Began examining his wounds. The damage was severe. Broken bones, internal bleeding, burn marks from his own flames turned inward by the explosion. It would take hours to stabilize him. "Because someone has to be kind first," she said without looking up. "Otherwise, this war never ends. Someone has to show mercy. Someone has to prove that we are more than just killers." Laughed. It was a horrible sound like metal tearing. "Mercy is weakness. The strong survive, the weak die. That is the only law." "Maybe," said. She pressed a healing patch against a deep wound, hissed in pain but did not attack. "But I have seen what your law creates. Death, destruction, endless suffering. Is that really what you want? Is that all you want to be?" The dragon did not answer. He watched her work with those strange golden eyes. He had never met a creature like this before. In his world, the wounded were left to die. Compassion was unknown. Kindness was a word without meaning. But this small human worked through the night to save his life. She did not ask for anything in return. She did not threaten him or demand information. She simply healed him because that was what she did. And somewhere deep inside his ancient heart, something began to crack. 3 hours passed before finished her work. Her hands were stained with glowing blood. Her body ached from kneeling on the hard metal floor, but was stable. His wounds were sealed. His breathing was steady. He would live. The dragon watched her as she packed her supplies. He had not spoken since her words about kindness, but his eyes never left her. They followed every movement she made. "You should rest," said. She stood up and stretched her tired muscles. "Your body needs time to heal. I will return tomorrow to check on you." "You are leaving?" sounded surprised. "I have to report to my captain, and you need sleep." She paused at the door and looked back at him. "I will come back, I promise." Made a strange sound, almost like a laugh but softer. "Promises mean nothing. Words are wind." "Not to me," said. "When I make a promise, I keep it. That is who I am." She left him alone in the ruined ship. The shuttle ride back to the pale dawn felt longer than before. Her mind was full of questions. Had she done the right thing? Would change? Or was she just saving a monster who would kill again? Captain was waiting for her in the medical bay. His face was unreadable. "The creature lives?" he asked. Nodded. "He will recover. His wounds were severe, but I was able to stabilize him." He raised an eyebrow. "His name is, he is young for his kind. Maybe that is why he was alone on that ship." Sat down heavily on a medical bed. "He told me he has killed humans, many of them. He wanted me to be afraid." "And were you?" Thought about the question. "Yes," she admitted. "But fear is not a reason to stop helping. Fear is just a feeling. It passes." studied her for a long moment. "You are a strange woman, healer. Most people would have left that creature to die." "Most people are tired of this war," replied. "So am I, but anger and revenge will not end it. Only understanding can do that. If we can show that we are not just enemies, maybe things can change." The captain shook his head slowly. "I admire your hope, but I do not share it. These creatures have shown us nothing but violence. They do not want peace. They want conquest." "Maybe," said, "but is just one dragon, and he is young. Maybe he can learn something different. Maybe he can carry that knowledge back to his people. We have to try, Captain, we have to try." Left without another word, but he did not stop her from returning to the enemy ship. The next day crossed the dark space between ships again. She brought medical supplies and something else. A small tablet loaded with human music and pictures, art and stories and poetry, things that showed the beauty of human culture. Was awake when she arrived. His scales looked better. They had regained some of their glow, but his eyes were still wary. "You came back," he said. There was wonder in his voice. "I told you I would," knelt beside him and began checking his wounds. "How do you feel?" "Weak, hungry," he paused, confused. Smiled, confused about what? "About you, about your people," shifted his massive body. Even wounded, he was terrifying. His claws could tear through metal. His fire could melt stone. Yet he lay still while this tiny human touched him. "We are not so hard to understand," said. "We want to live, we want to be happy. We want to protect the people we love, that is all." "We want the same things," replied. "But we take them by force. That is our way. The strong survive, the weak serve or die." "Is that what you were taught?" The dragon was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was different, softer, almost sad. "I was born in a combat pit," he said. "There were 12 of us, brothers and sisters from the same clutch. We were raised together until we were old enough to fight. Then they put us in an arena and told us that only one would live." Stopped working, her heart felt cold. "I killed my siblings," continued. "All 11 of them. I tore them apart with my claws and burned them with my fire. The elders watched and cheered. They said I was strong. They said I would bring glory to our people." He looked at with those golden eyes. "I was 3 years old." Did not know what to say. She had heard stories about cruelty, but this was beyond anything she had imagined. Children forced to murder their own family, raised from birth to be killing machines. "I am sorry," she whispered. The words felt small and useless. "Why?" asked. "You did not make me this way. Your people did not create our traditions. This is who we are." "No," shook her head firmly. "This is what you were made to be. There is a difference. You did not choose to kill your siblings. You were forced. That means you can choose something different now." Laughed again, that terrible grinding sound. "Choose what? Kindness, mercy. These things are weakness. They would get me killed among my own kind." Pulled out the tablet and placed it before him. "I want to show you something. This is human art, music, stories, the things we create when we are not fighting." She played a piece of music. It was soft and gentle, a violin singing a melody that spoke of love and loss and hope. Listened with his head tilted to one side. His golden eyes grew distant. "What is this?" he asked when it ended. "It is called music. We make it because it makes us feel things, beautiful things." "We do not have this," said slowly. "We have war drums, battle songs, but nothing like this. Nothing so," he struggled for the word, "soft." Showed him paintings next. Landscapes of green forests and blue oceans. Portraits of smiling faces. Abstract art that exploded with color and emotion. Stared at each image for a long time. He did not understand all of it, but something was happening inside him. Something was waking up. "Your people made these?" he asked. "Yes, we make art because we want to share our feelings with others. We want to connect. We want to show that we are more than just bodies trying to survive." Was quiet for a very long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. "I have never connected with anyone. Even my siblings were just enemies waiting to be killed. I have never had a friend. I do not even know what that word means." Reached out and touched his massive claw. Her hand was so small against his scaled flesh, but she did not pull away. "Then let me show you," she said. "Let me be your friend. Let me show you what kindness feels like." The dragon stared at her hand on his claw. No one had ever touched him gently before. Every touch in his life had been violent, a blow, a bite, a burning flame, but this was different. This was warm without heat, soft without weakness. "I do not understand you," he said. "You do not have to understand me," replied. "Just trust me. Give me a chance to show you that there is another way to live." Did not answer, but he did not pull away either, and in that small moment of connection, something changed between them. A bond began to form, fragile and uncertain but real. Neither of them knew that this bond would eventually break the world. Weeks passed like flowing water, visited every day. She brought him food and medicine and music. She told him stories about Earth, about oceans that stretched beyond sight, about mountains that touched the clouds, about cities full of millions of people living together in peace. Listened to everything. He asked questions that surprised her, questions about human families, about love, about why humans cried when they were sad. These were things he had never experienced, emotions he had never been allowed to feel. "When a human dies," he asked one day, "why do others weep?" Thought carefully before answering. "Because we miss them. Because there was a connection between us, and now that connection is broken. The tears are our way of expressing that pain." "But the dead cannot hear your tears. They cannot feel your pain. What is the purpose?" "Not everything needs a purpose," said. "Sometimes we do things just because we feel them. Crying helps us release our sadness. It helps us heal." Considered this. We do not cry. When it dies, we burn the body and speak words of honor. Then we move on. There is no time for sadness in war. "That sounds lonely." The dragon looked at her with those golden eyes. They seemed less harsh now, less angry. "I did not know what loneliness was until I met you. Now I understand that I have been lonely my entire life." Their conversations grew longer each day, learned about culture, about their ancient that had been destroyed by a dying star, about their long journey through the darkness of space, about how the elders decided that conquest was the only way to survive. "We were not always like this," said. "The old stories speak of a time when we were artists and builders, when we created great works of beauty, but that was before the burning, before our world died." "What happened to change you?" "Fear." The word came out heavy and sad. "We lost everything, our home, our history, our art, all burned away in a moment. The survivors decided that they would never be weak again. They would never trust the universe to be kind. They would take what they needed by force. And so they raised children to be killers," said quietly. "Yes, generation after generation, until kindness became a forgotten word, until love was just a story from a dead world." Felt tears in her eyes. She finally understood. They were not monsters by nature. They were monsters by design, created by fear and loss and centuries of violence. They had forgotten how to be anything else. "You remember now," she said, "listening to music, looking at art, talking to me. You are remembering what your people used to be." Was silent for a long moment. "Perhaps, but remembering is not the same as changing. Even if I wanted to be different, my people would not accept it. They would call me weak. They would kill me." "Then do not tell them. Keep it secret. Let it grow inside you, and maybe someday you can show them a different path." Meanwhile, on the pale dawn, worry was growing. Intelligence officer had been monitoring the ship. He had detected strange signals coming from the vessel, short bursts of encrypted data aimed toward deep space. He brought his findings to Captain. The creature is transmitting, said. I cannot read the messages, but they are definitely going somewhere. His face darkened. Does Healer know about this? I do not think so. She seems to believe the dragon has changed. The captain called a meeting of his senior officers, was the first to speak. I knew this would happen, she said. Her voice was bitter. That creature is using her, playing with her emotions. It is a spy, nothing more. We do not know that for certain, replied. The transmissions could be automated distress signals. They could be meaningless. Or they could be telling the enemy exactly where we are, shot back. Captain, we need to destroy that ship before it is too late. And kill our own healer, asked. She made her choice. She chose to trust a monster. If she dies, it is her own fault. Captain held up his hand for silence. No one is dying today. I will speak with Healer. She deserves a chance to explain. He found in the shuttle bay, preparing for another visit. When he told her about the transmissions, her face went pale. That is not possible, she said. Would not betray me. He has changed. I have seen it. Have you? Asked gently. Or have you only seen what you wanted to see? Felt her heart beating fast. Doubt crept into her mind like poison. Had she been fooled? Was everything had said a lie? She thought about their conversations. The way he listened to music with wonder in his eyes. The way he asked about human love like a child learning new words. Let me talk to him, she said. Let me ask him about the transmissions. I will know if he is lying. Studied her face. He saw fear there, but also determination and something else, something that worried him. You care for this creature, he said. It was not a question. Did not answer, but her silence said everything. Be careful, Healer. Compassion is a virtue, but blind compassion is a weapon that your enemies can use against you. She took the shuttle across the debris field one more time. Her hands were shaking as she docked with the broken warship. Her mind was full of questions and fears, but she had to know the truth. Was waiting for her. His scales were bright now, almost beautiful. He had healed completely. He could leave whenever he wanted, but he had stayed. You look troubled, he said. Stood before him. She did not kneel this time. My people have detected transmissions from your ship, encrypted messages going into deep space. What are you sending? Who are you talking to? The dragon was silent for a moment. Then he laughed. It was that old terrible sound again. The sound she had not heard in weeks. You finally found out, he said. I wondered how long it would take. Felt her blood turn cold. What do you mean? Rose to his full height. He was massive. His wings spread wide, filling the room. His eyes burned like golden fire. You humans are so foolish, he said. His voice was different now. Hard, cruel, the voice of a killer. Did you really think your kindness could change me? Did you really believe that a few weeks of music and art could erase centuries of training? Please. My name means nothing to you. You never knew me. You only knew what I showed you. He stepped closer. His shadow fell over her like darkness. I was communicating with my fleet, telling them everything. The position of your ship, the number of your crew, your weapon systems, your weaknesses. Could not speak. Her voice was gone. Her heart was broken. And your greatest weakness, continued, is kindness, compassion, the foolish belief that enemies can become friends. I learned this from you. I learned that humans can be manipulated through their own goodness. Tears ran down her face. Everything was a lie. Tilted his head. For just a moment, something flickered in his golden eyes, something almost like regret, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. Not everything, he said quietly. The music was beautiful. I will remember it. Then he spread his wings and launched himself through the broken hull into the cold darkness of space. Watched him fly away toward the distant stars. She fell to her knees and wept. The fleet came like a storm from the darkness. 50 warships appeared from fold space without warning. They surrounded the pale dawn like wolves circling wounded prey. Their weapons glowed with terrible heat. One word from their commander, and the human ship would become ash. Alarms screamed through every corridor of the pale dawn. Crew members ran to battle stations. Captain stood on the bridge with his jaw clenched tight. He had expected this. He had feared it, and now it was happening. "All weapons online," reported. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. "But Captain, we cannot fight this many ships. We will be destroyed in minutes." "I know," looked at the wall of enemy vessels on his screen. "But we will not surrender. We will not beg. If we die today, we die fighting." Suddenly straightened at his console. "Captain, incoming transmission. It is addressed to Healer." The bridge went silent. Everyone turned to look at. She stood near the back of the room. Her face was pale. Her eyes were red from crying. But she walked forward with steady steps. "Put it through," she said. The main screen flickered. A massive face appeared. This one was old. Its scales were dark with age. Scars crossed its snout like rivers on a map. Its eyes burned with ancient fire. "Human healer," the dragon said. Its voice was deep and terrible. "I am Elder. You showed mercy to our youngest warrior. You healed his wounds and filled his mind with strange ideas. For this, I offer you a choice." Said nothing, she waited. "Surrender yourself to us," Elder continued. "Come aboard my ship and answer for what you have done. In return, we will spare your vessel and its crew. Refuse and all of you will burn." Captain stepped forward. "You cannot be serious. We will never surrender one of our own to." "This is not your decision, human captain." Elder's eyes never left. "The healer must choose, her life for everyone else. What do you say, little human? Will you sacrifice yourself for your people?" Thought about her mother back on Earth, about the family she would never see again, about all the patients she would never heal. She thought about his betrayal, about how her kindness had led to this moment. Then she thought about the crew around her. 300 souls, families waiting for them at home, children who would never see their parents again if the ship was destroyed. "I need time to decide," she said. Elder laughed. It was the same terrible sound that had made. "You have 1 hour. After that, we will open fire." The transmission ended. The bridge exploded with voices. "You cannot do this," said. She grabbed his arm. "They will torture you. They will make you suffer for what you did to." "What I did," pulled away. "I healed him. I showed him kindness. That is all I did." "And it was enough to threaten them," said quietly. Everyone looked at him. "Think about it. Why would they send 50 ships for one small cruiser? Why would the Elder himself come here? Because you did something dangerous. You made question his people's ways." Captain nodded slowly. "They are afraid of you, healer, afraid of what you represent. If one dragon can be changed by human kindness, then others might follow. Their entire society is built on violence. Compassion is a threat to everything they believe." Felt something shift inside her. The sadness was still there, the pain of betrayal, but something else was growing, something harder, stronger. "Then I will not surrender," she said. But the crew started. "We'll fight," looked at each person on the bridge. "We will all fight because that is what humans do. We do not give up. We do not bow to fear, even when we are betrayed, even when our hearts are broken. We stand up. We fight back. We show the universe what we are made of." Captain smiled for the first time in days. "Well said, healer. Very well, we fight." The hour passed quickly. The crew prepared for battle. They knew they would lose. The fleet was too powerful, but they would take as many dragons with them as they could. Spent the hour in the medical bay. She was not preparing bandages or setting up for surgery. She was doing something else. Something she had learned from studying the ship systems. Something that only she could do. When the hour ended, Elder appeared on the screen again. "Have you made your choice, little healer?" Stood alone on the bridge. The captain and crew watched from their stations. "I have," she said. "My answer is no, I will not surrender, and you will not destroy this ship." Elder laughed. "Bold words for a creature about to die. Your ship is nothing. Your weapons are toys. What makes you think you can stop us?" "Because I understand something about you now," replied. "Something that taught me. Your people are ruled by fear. You are afraid of weakness, afraid of kindness, afraid of anything that threatens your way of life, but I am not afraid anymore." She opened a channel to all 50 ships. Her voice echoed through every vessel in the fleet. "Hear me, dragons of this," she said. "You have been told that humans are weak, that our compassion is a flaw, that we are easy to conquer, but you are wrong." On every ship, dragons paused to listen. Warriors, elders, even the young ones who had never seen battle, they all heard the small human woman speak. "I healed one of your warriors when I could have let him die. I showed him kindness when he expected only violence. And do you know what happened? He changed. For a little while he remembered what your people used to be, before the fear, before the killing, before you forgot how to love." Elder's face twisted with rage. "Silence her, open fire." But continued. Her voice was calm and clear. "He betrayed me. He broke my heart. But he also proved something. He proved that even dragons can feel compassion. Even you can remember what it means to be gentle. Your elders do not want you to know this. They want you to stay afraid. They want you to keep killing because that is how they control you." The weapons powered up, but something was happening. On several ships, the crew hesitated. They looked at each other with confusion in their eyes. "I am going to die today," said. "I know that, but I want you to remember my words. I want you to remember that a small human woman stood before your entire fleet and refused to bow, not because she was strong, but because she believed in something stronger than fear. She believed in kindness, in hope, in the possibility that even enemies can become friends." She paused, tears were running down her face, but she was smiling. "That is what humans are. That is what we believe. And that is why you will never defeat us. Not really. Because even if you kill us all, our ideas will survive. Kindness will survive. And someday, your children will ask why you were so afraid of a tiny human healer who only wanted to help." Elder screamed the order to fire, but was already moving. She ran to the main engineering console and entered a code she had prepared during the hour of waiting. "Captain," she said over the ship's comm, "I am sorry, but this is the only way." "No," shouted. But it was too late. Triggered the emergency core overload. The Pale Dawn's reactor began to destabilize, a chain reaction that could not be stopped. She walked to the nearest airlock and stepped inside. Through the small window she could see the fleet, massive ships of scale and fire, beautiful in their terrible way. "I forgive you," she whispered. "I hope someday you can forgive yourself." Then the Pale Dawn exploded. The explosion was brighter than a star. It tore through space like the anger of a dying sun. 17 warships were destroyed in an instant. The flagship of Elder was among them. The old dragon and his crew vanished in white fire. The remaining ships scattered in panic. They had never expected this. A single human cruiser, a tiny vessel compared to their fleet, had struck back with the fury of a supernova. They had come to crush helpless prey. Instead, they found warriors. The battle was over in moments. The survivors fled into fold space, running from the expanding cloud of debris and radiation. They left behind the ghosts of their dead and a message that would echo through the galaxy. Humans do not surrender. The news spread quickly. Other human colonies received the distress signals from the Pale Dawn before it was destroyed. They heard its final words, broadcast on all frequencies. They heard a small woman speak of kindness and hope while facing an entire enemy fleet. Within days, her speech had reached every human world. Within weeks, it had reached the other species of the galaxy, the peaceful traders of the Rim, the ancient scholars of the inner sphere, the warrior monks of the far systems. They all heard the story of the healer who approached a dragon with kindness. But the strangest thing happened among themselves. Survived the battle. He had been flying toward a distant ship when the explosion happened. The shockwave threw him spinning through space, but his scales protected him. He drifted for hours before being picked up by a rescue vessel. When he returned he was called before the Council of Elders. They wanted to know everything, about the human ship, about the healer, about why Elder and his fleet had been destroyed. Stood before the ancient dragons and told them the truth. He told them about her kindness, about the music she had shared with him, about the way she had touched his claw and offered to be his friend. The elders listened in cold silence. "This human tried to corrupt you," one of them said. "She tried to make you weak." "No," replied. His voice was different now, softer. "She tried to show me another way, a way without killing, without fear. I rejected her, I betrayed her, and she died because of me." "Good," another elder said. "The enemy is destroyed. You have proven your loyalty." Looked at the old dragon with those golden eyes. Something was burning inside him. Something that had started with a gentle touch and a piece of human music. "Have I?" he asked. "Or have I proven that we are exactly what the humans believe us to be? Monsters, killers, creatures so afraid of kindness that we must destroy anyone who shows it to us." The chamber erupted with angry voices, but continued. "She knew she was going to die. She knew we would kill her, but she spoke anyway. She told the truth to our entire fleet. She said that kindness is stronger than fear, that even enemies can become friends." He paused. "I have been thinking about her words. I have been thinking about them every moment since she died." "Enough!" The eldest dragon rose to his full height. His scales were black with age. His eyes were dim but still fierce. "This human has poisoned your mind. You are no longer fit to serve. Guards, take him to the pits." But before the guards could move, a young dragon stepped forward. Then another. Then a dozen more. They gathered around like a protective wall. "We heard the human's words too," one of them said. "We heard her speak of kindness and hope. We want to understand what she meant." The Council of Elders stared in shock. This had never happened before. Young dragons defying the elders, questioning the ancient ways, all because of a small human healer. The confrontation did not end in violence, but it started something that could not be stopped, a crack in the foundation of society, a question that would grow louder with each passing year. What if the humans are right? What if there is another way? 40 years passed. The war continued, but something had changed. The attacks became less frequent. More and more young dragons refused to fight. They gathered in secret groups and shared recordings of final speech. They called themselves the Seekers of Light. On the human side, a new admiral rose to lead the fleet. Her name she was an old woman now with white hair and weathered skin, but her eyes were still sharp. She had been a child on the pale dawn, the daughter of a junior officer who had died in the explosion. She remembered watching the healer cross the dark space to help an enemy. She remembered thinking how brave and foolish that was, and she remembered the light of the explosion that had saved her life. When they sent a message requesting peace talks, Admiral agreed to meet them. The meeting took place on a neutral station at the edge of human space, arrived with a small escort. She did not know what to expect from the dragon who had requested this meeting. When she entered the chamber, she found a single waiting for her. He was large, even for his kind. His scales shimmered with age and old scars. His golden eyes were deep and sad. "I am," he said. "I knew the healer called." Felt her heart clench. She had heard the name before. Everyone knew the story. The dragon who had been saved by human kindness. The dragon who had betrayed the woman who healed him. "Why did you ask for this meeting?" she said. Was silent for a long moment. Then he did something no had ever done before. He bowed his massive head to a human. "I have spent 40 years trying to understand what she showed me," he said. "Kindness, compassion, the belief that enemies can become friends. For a long time I thought she was foolish, weak. I thought her death proved that softness has no place in the universe." He raised his head. Tears were flowing from his golden eyes, real tears like liquid starlight. "I was wrong. I have never been more wrong about anything in my life. Her kindness was not weakness. It was the strongest thing I have ever seen. She walked into the fire knowing she would burn, not because she thought she could survive, but because she believed it was right, because she hoped that her sacrifice might change something." Admiral found that her own eyes were wet. Did it change something? "Yes," gestured toward the door. It opened and a dozen more entered, young ones and old ones, warriors and scholars. "These are the seekers of light. There are thousands more like us. We have been studying human culture, human art, human music. We have been trying to remember what we lost when our world burned." He stepped closer too. His massive form towered over her, but she did not feel afraid. "We want peace," said. "We want to learn from you. We want to honor memory by becoming what she believed we could be." Admiral thought about the little girl she had been, the child who had watched a brave healer fly into danger, the woman who had spent her whole life fighting dragons. "She would have liked that," said finally. "She always believed in you, even at the end." The treaty they signed was called the Accord. It ended the longest and bloodiest war in human history. It opened the doors to trade and friendship between species that had only known violence for generations. On the rebuilt world they built a monument, a statue of a small human woman reaching up toward a wounded dragon. Her face was kind. Her hands were gentle. Around her, flowers grew in every color of the rainbow. Pilgrims came from across the galaxy to see it. They left offerings of glowing scales at its base. They stood in silence and remembered the healer who had approached a dragon with kindness. Came too, in the final years of his long life. He stood before the statue and wept golden tears. "I am sorry," he whispered. "I am sorry I did not understand. I am sorry I betrayed you. I am sorry I was afraid." The wind stirred the flowers around the statue. For a moment, he thought he heard music, that soft violin melody she had played for him so long ago. "But I understand now," he continued. "Kindness is a choice we make knowing we might be betrayed. You made that choice for me, and I have spent my life trying to be worthy of it." He stayed until the sun set and the stars came out. Then he flew away into the darkness, carrying her memory with him. The plaque at the base of the statue had simple words. She approached with kindness. She died for hope. She was human, and that was enough. Enough to change the universe. Enough to prove that even in the darkest night, a single spark of compassion can light the way to dawn. That is the story of the healer who approached a dragon with kindness. What followed was a tragedy no one expected. But in the end, her kindness won. In the end, kindness always wins. It just takes time,